Welcome, everyone, to Family Comes First. I'm Vincent J. Russo.
And I'm Victoria Roberts-Drogan. Thank you for joining us today. Vincent, for years, when people would think of military service, they would think of the men in our armed forces. But what about the women?
Well, times have certainly changed. And I agree, and in the past, there's been significant coverage of our men in the military.
Yeah, so today we're going to explore the complex and unique challenges that our female vets face when they return home. Military Moms on Family Comes First. One of the first challenges facing vets, both men and women, is the transition back to civilian life. What was once maybe the norm is now sometimes a memory for many returning vets.
With us now is veteran Denise Gauze and Howard Duff, the Director of Mental Health Services at Catholic Charities. Welcome. Thank you for joining us on Family Comes First.
It's so good to have you both here. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you were a single mom with 2 children, and you decided to go into the military.
Yes.
Why?
Why? Should I discuss? I have 2 reasons why. One is because my mother wanted to always go into the military. She never went, I guess, because of the life that she had, raising her children and just other odd jobs. She never got the opportunity. And I also worked with this woman who worked at part-time in a grocery store, and then for 13 years. And she kept saying, I want to leave, I want to leave. But she had regrets. So that's one of the reasons. And the second, I wanted a better life for me and my children.
How old were your children?
11 years old and 5 years old.
That must have been hard.
It was very hard.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that so many moms who decide to serve our country, it's not that dads don't love their children by any means, but there's something about a mom, your conviction must have been so strong at that point that it overrode that pain.
Yes, because you want to do the best and you're just looking at the positive, like, I want my children to have the best, to live in the best, and just do what I can for them.
Right. And this is how.
Yeah. And that's what I thought was how, yes.
Yeah. How did you prepare them for you leaving?
Well, they knew I was going, but then the main thing was I had to find good hands to put them in.
Yes, of course.
I know my mother couldn't do it. I know the grandmother couldn't do it, but I had a great-grandmother in Florida. She took care of my children. So I had to get them to Florida before I even went to basic training.
Wow.
That's tremendous.
And how long were you away?
I was away 2.5 years.
2.5 years. Wow.
Thank you for that service.
Yes.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. So when you came back, what was it like? What was your strongest memory about coming home?
I know I'm going to see my children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were going to be happy to see me and exciting to see me.
Yeah.
Did you stay in contact with them when you were overseas?
Yes, and I got one chance to visit, and that was hard coming back because at the airport, there were like tears rolling off their faces, and it was like, but I got to go.
Oh, that's almost harder, seeing them and then leaving.
I almost went AWOL.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine.
Well, thank God you came back.
Yeah.
Because you put your life on the line.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
So when you came back, you had to make decisions about where to live, what you were going to do, your job, everything. What was the first step in thinking about that?
No, I didn't have a problem with that because I went back to my mother.
Okay.
I was living at home with my parents.
Okay.
So that was
God for
really
that.
important. That's where family support,
Yeah.
Having family that can be supportive. And unfortunately, though, there are many vets who come back and don't have that family support. That makes it more difficult. And that's where you come in with all the services that you're able to provide. So talk about those services.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, Catholic Charities offers a wide variety of services for, children, adults, seniors. But our Veterans Program is one of our newest programs. We started about 10 years ago when the episodes of homelessness were becoming so apparent. So we created programs to provide housing for the homeless veteran. And in that, we also created housing for families because we saw a two-tier problem. One, of course, is the chronically homeless veteran who is living in the woods, etc. And then we also saw the families that were living in shelters because there was no place for them to live. So Catholic Charities was able to establish some homes where we've been able to put families in. And again, the families do the hard work. For us, it's a privilege to do it because they deserve a place to live.
Truly,
Sure.
truly.
Sure.
So what are the challenges that some of the families who you serve, what do they come to you with? And what programs do you have to support them?
Okay. Well, we do have our mental health programs, our chemical dependence clinics. Unfortunately, many of the veterans that come back suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yes.
And what happens is that because of the mental health issues, the stress, they turn to substances that do not help them adjust to civilian life. So I think that is our first goal, is to help stabilize them. We utilize all our parishes. We have parishes throughout Nassau and Suffolk County. We receive phone calls from them saying, we have a veteran, they're struggling. What can we do?
Right.
So then we start this process.
So transitioning in many different areas, transitioning into the workplace. How was that for you? Was it difficult?
Well, in the beginning, it was because they told me I can get my job back when I came back home. But then when I got back, it wasn't there. It was no longer open. But eventually, they did give it back.
Okay.
So,
So you were able to go back to what you were doing before?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I would think that's an area where it taking skills that you have in the military and then coming back and trying to reconnect with the job you might have had before you left, it could be difficult. I guess you were fortunate. I don't know what it took to get that job back, so maybe I don't want to go there. But is that an area with Catholic Charities can be helpful with job transition?
Okay. What we do try to do with our homeless programs, because again, most of them are homeless because they do not have employment. So what we do, we again network out to all the different parishes. We do work with the VA. There is not enough employment for our veterans when they do return home. And again, the skills that they use, the courage that they show in serving our country when they come home. They don't say, well, oh, you're courageous. Oh, good.
Right.
Here's a job for you
Right.
because
Right.
it doesn't
So,
fit.
so why don't we do a shout out? We do a
Yes.
shout out to all those employers who are
Yes.
watching the show, especially small business employers. There are many out there on Long Island, and think about
Hire a
hiring.
vet.
Think about
Yes.
hiring a vet today.
Absolutely.
Think
Yes.
about hiring a vet.
Yeah, because it would seem on both parts, the hard skills that you learn are invaluable. It's just a matter of translating that value to the marketplace in many ways. So I imagine that that's something that, we had chatted briefly. I know the VA has a library where they can connect those skills. But often I imagine it must be hard, when a vet comes home, you've had this life that feels one way to you in the military, and then you come home and it feels very different. What do you do to support some of those challenges?
Well, again, we do have our mental health counseling programs, which are extremely valuable. We have peer support, which we
Yes.
find even more valuable because we use the veterans when they are able to relate to another veteran. I don't understand what it's like
Yes.
to fight in battle. They understand that. They understand what it's like to be away from your family, and they offer the support. We did start some suicide prevention programs because, unfortunately,
Wow.
the rate of suicide among veterans is extremely, extremely high. And it is something that we are trying to reduce with our trainings, but it is an ongoing battle.
I guess the sooner you can get face to face with the vet and have some sort of recognition of what's going on, which is by the vet, which I'm sure is very, very difficult. But I applaud the efforts for sure. So important. Denise, talk to us about while you were away, what were the particular challenges as a female? Because there are more males in the military than females today. So any particular challenges that you?
I can't think of any offhand, but I know once you join the military, it's not male or female. You're just a soldier now. So you're just treated
So
the
you
way they would
felt
treat a soldier.
as an equal, you were judged, measured, and performed.
That's how I felt, yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
And then when you came back, was it hard to readjust, or did you just bring all that with you?
I kind of brought it back.
brought it
Even at
back.
home sometimes.
Yeah.
They think I'm a drill sergeant.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay, straight and narrow.
Can you come to our houses?
Zach, you might not love me after that.
No, we'll love you. We're the parents. Well,
Absolutely.
I can't thank you enough for your serving our country and for your being part of this show. We so much wanted to do this show and talk to female veterans and to talk to the organizations that are providing support.
Can I mention one other one?
Sure.
Every Monday night is PFC Dwyer. They have this organization for veterans, and it's 16 Main Street in Hempstead.
Good.
Wonderful.
So,
Good.
Wonderful.
All
Now
right.
we'll put it on the
Another resource,
website
and we'll
as
put
a
that up on our
resource, yeah.
website as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for
you.
that.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're going to take a break, and we will be right back on Family Comes First.
Military moms.
Military moms. Thank you.
Yes.
you're welcome.
The Center for Special Needs Trust Administration was created over 15 years ago. The reason for the creation of the center was to help those individuals who needed help, to help those individuals who were on SSI, who were on Medicaid, who were on housing assistance, who were on food assistance. Previously, those individuals were left to fend for themselves. On one particular day, their life changed, and they had nowhere to go. What the center provides through its trust administration services is an outlet for them to live a better and more productive life.
Welcome back to Family Comes First. We just heard about how difficult it can be for female veterans to transition back to civilian life. There are so many issues to identify and resolve.
And one of the first challenges facing vets, both men and women, is the issue of housing, often critical. Once they are discharged, they need a place to live. So what's the first step? What happens? Where do you go?
United Veterans Beacon House is a not-for-profit organization that helps veterans transition back into the community. With us now is Frank Amalfitano, the CEO of United Veterans Beacon House, who can provide us with his insights.
Also joining us is Justina Penna, a female vet who was helped tremendously by the United Veterans Beacon House.
Thank you all for being here today.
So Justina, backing up maybe a few years, what made you decide to join the military?
My great-grandfather was a soldier in the Italian army. He was a prisoner of war during World War II. So it kind of stemmed from that. But then September 11th happened, and my sister was already in the army. And the field I was in, being a broker, wasn't obviously what it used to be after September 11th. So I decided to join the army and serve my country and travel the world. And that's what I had chosen to do, and I loved it.
What role did you have in the Army?
I was an engineer in demo and explosives. I was
Wow.
stationed in Germany, in Grafenwehr. I was the first female in an all-male combat engineer unit. So my original job of being a heavy equipment operator that minored in explosives went major because that's the unit I was in, and I had to...
That must have been incredibly challenging, being the only woman in that unit. Did you have to prove yourself?
Yes, beyond belief. I
Yeah.
definitely had to prove myself, and rightfully so. You know, I had some pretty big shoes to fill as a female, being the only female in a all-male
Well, I guess
combat
anyone
unit.
would have to
Yes,
prove themselves. But there are
absolutely.
unique challenges, you know, with the assumptions that are made.
Well, I had to make them trust me and, you know, believe that, you know, their lives were safe with me also, as I did with them.
How did you do that?
Worked like...
Like heck.
Worked like heck.
That's right.
Sure. Yeah.
So now, single mom,
Yes.
2 sons,
Yes.
and you go into the military. So
Well-
talk a little about that.
I had no children when I went into the
Oh,
military.
okay.
My first son was born right after my first tour in Iraq, And I got my orders for the second tour in Iraq. So I had to ask my mother and my grandparents to watch my son while I went back to Iraq the second tour. And my son was only 3 months old when I brought him back to stateside for my mother to care for him.
Wow.
And it was
Wow.
one of the hardest decisions I
It
had
must
to ever
have been.
make.
So what motivated you? What got you through that decision?
Believing in what I did and wanting to have a life for me and my son. And I loved my job and I loved being in the Army. I loved everything about it. And I believed in it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I believed in my job and what purpose I stood for as a soldier.
So Frank, let's talk about the support and services that your organization provides.
United Veterans Beacon House is our organization. I've been the CEO since 1999. We've been in existence since 1994. We've housed women veterans from our inception. Services is housing, emergency housing, transitional housing, and permanent housing for veterans and also for veteran families. Of course, on a small scale, we're a small organization, but on a larger scale, we are partners with the VA, the local VA. Our catchment area is Long Island. So we do a lot of work with the Northport VA. We do a lot of work with St. Albans and what they call a VISM, which is a combination of 7 VA hospitals in the immediate area, this geographic immediate area. We provide employment opportunities for veterans. We provide housing for veterans and their families. We have a Vets Bill program that we're in partners with. We partner with a lot of agencies. The Vets Bill program, we're in partner with United Way of Long Island, which that's a great program because it's free to the veterans, and it's men and women, and it's a insulation, weatherization program, which could lead to higher education and a lot of jobs in the solar industry. Training, we provide a lot of training also in partnership with the VA and with the Department of Labor.
Yeah. Frank, I imagine you and Justina have slightly different perspectives on this, but what would each of you say is the most powerful difference that women face transitioning back after service?
Well, most women, they have a lot more challenges than the male veterans, though, and particularly a single mom, a veteran woman that has children. That's the tremendous challenge. And then you also a woman veteran that's experienced war. I can tell you this firsthand. You know, there's a lot of issues, but being in a combat scenario, you carry that with you for the rest of your life.
Justina, I know you had spoken a little bit to us about that, coming home and not even realizing that you had post-traumatic.
PTSD.
Yeah.
I know when I first came home, there weren't as many programs as there are now.
Right.
So coming to terms with it was difficult and it took a while. But by the grace of God, I did come to terms with it and found my way to the VA, which made me stronger and start the healing process so I could be a mother to my son.
Yeah.
If you know, programs like United Veterans Beacon House are so important, you know, to veterans and their families, because without them, you know, in side by side with the VA, with programs like United Veterans Beacon House, it's just so important.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, one I guess is naming, you know, actually being able to put a name on something as opposed to just feeling terrible. And then the other, you had talked about the support of the community, like in Liberty Village, where you
Yes.
live now. What's that like? What does that do for you?
It's like being in the Army all over again, honestly. It's like being right back
What is that?
on a
What
military
is-
base. The camaraderie, the integrity, the loyalty.
Yeah.
Not feeling like you're crazy because you all share some type of common bound.
So
And I think that's important.
The housing, it's not just housing, it's the housing setup, the arrangement.
Right.
And the community.
Yes, and the
Community that
community.
is there for you.
Right.
So that, it sounds like it was like the most important first piece of many pieces that needed to be
To
put
follow,
together.
absolutely, because you have to have a stable home in order to flourish
Right.
and
take
you
care
know,
of your
for you and your
kids.
family. Absolutely.
How did you find them? How did you know, what happened that led you, you know, you came home. What's the first step to take?
I was homeless, honestly, and that's how I ended up
Yeah.
being connected with United Veterans Beacon House through the VA. And it just, it was a humbling experience. And like I said, you just can't give up. You have to believe in yourself and you have to push. And when you're a mom of 2 little boys, there is no excuse. You can't give up.
How did you speak to your children as they got maybe I don't know, at that age or a little older as to...
I kept them protected very, very well. They really didn't know the situation at hand.
Because you work through it day by day.
Yes, you do. And, you know, they go to school and they have their lives and you try and keep normalcy as much as possible. And they knew once we moved to Liberty Village that we were, you know, really okay and we were safe and it was home and they were happy and, you know, and...
Well, Justina, you're just an incredible inspiration. I mean, the courage you have.
Thank you.
And it's just remarkable. And, you know, what you did for our country and then how you've taken care of your family and the resources you're providing is so essential and so much appreciated because we can't forget our vets. You know, when they come back, we've got to help them.
Well, in Justina's case, she came through a emergency shelter
Right.
to transitional housing to permanent housing, and we assisted her, you know, all up until that. And still, in our program, in our organization, no matter if a vet leaves, we've put approximately 7,700 vets through our housing program. They're welcome back at no charge anytime for all kinds of assistance, as far as we do their taxes, transportation, you know, whatever their needs are.
Great service you're providing. I want to thank you both for being on our show today. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back on Family Comes First.
So Vincent, today we've met 2 incredible women who served our country, and heard from them about some of the unique challenges that they faced as women in the military. It's been inspiring, it's been sobering, and had some great resources on the show as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to actually throw this back at you.
Okay.
Because you're the female.
You are.
And this is great that we focused on female veterans on this show. I'm so excited. I know my wife Susan, who's co-produced shows in the past, just so much wanted this to happen today.
Yeah.
And your background, and you'll talk a little about your background as you give us your insights on the job transition and training and education.
Yeah, well, it's critical for both men and women. Again, unique challenges, but sometimes different challenges for men and women. And
So what do you do for a living?
I'm a professor at Mercy College. I'm the executive director of the Women's Leadership Program in the School of Business.
Women's Leadership Program.
Yes.
See, that's why I passed it
know,
back to
I
you.
know. We're so proud
the
of it.
women vets are leaders. Women leaders.
Tremendous leadership skills.
That's right.
And that's one of the things that I think came across so clearly when we spoke to Denise and to Justina, is that these are skills which they've acquired through their service, but also through who they are.
Yeah.
So to be able to translate that and to describe and be powerful in articulating the value to the market is tremendous. For women, I think for a lot of our vets coming home. But, you know, there are a lot of employers out there, as we said, who really could benefit from understanding what our vets offer in terms of their experience and their skills. So yeah, it's very much in line with what I'm passionate about and what we do at Mercy College. So.
Yeah. So let's welcome Father Tony Stanganelli.
Yes.
I know for all the years and the parish work that you do that you've spoken to so many veterans and families who have veterans serving abroad, and you must have incredible insights on what these issues are. I'm putting you on the spot, Father.
Well, I appreciate that very much, because really and truly, when you see people who have been broken by life, and even broken because of being in military service and not really meeting humanity at its best in their service of an enemy,
Yes.
and having to be in the front lines, and then to realize that now, how do I put the pieces back together? Those are the challenges that, as any pastoral leader, we face with people who are we're trying to help them put their lives back together through the help of God, through the grace of God. Because as we saw with both Justina and with Denise, that they both went into the military believing in what they could do for their country, believing in what they could do for their family, and believing that they had a purpose and value in life. Those things don't change, but they get bruised, I think, in the battlefield. And coming home and to recapture that zeal and to refocus that zeal through the grace of God. Those are the things I think as pastoral leaders, we in the parish, we try to, again, engage people with that interior zeal that brought them into the service.
You reconnect them with their humanity,
Exactly.
I think. Yeah, because you can lose it.
Exactly. I mean,
battle.
how dehumanizing
Yeah.
is it to be where they were, what they've experienced? And then to even face further dehumanizing by perhaps finding those challenges where they can't pick up again.
Yes.
And giving them hope, giving them a reason for their pushing forward, and once again reigniting that resilience in them. And all those are graces that God wants to give. God is not indifferent to the challenges that they're facing in their retransitioning into this society again. And so we want them to believe that God really does labor to love them in this new phase of coming into the non-military life and facing that again with hope and courage.
And my observation is that we all can help, in our own ways. We've had resources on that have organizations, but each of us individually, we're in the community. We can be more sensitive to the vets who've come back, more sensitive to the families who have loved ones abroad, in the military.
And appreciate
them and support them in little ways. So as a community, we can really bolster them up and back into community life here in our country.
And for sure, I believe that the church can play a vital role in that support that they need, that they deserve.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Father Tony, for your insights today.
And thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vincent, we've had so many wonderful resources that we've been able to discuss on our show today to support men and women in our military as they return.
Absolutely. United Veteran Beacon House and Catholic Charities are two resources among many which are available to our military men and women and their families.
Yeah. For more information on the United Veterans Beacon House, please visit their website at uvbh.com. And the programs available at Catholic Charities you can find at catholiccharities.cc. And you can also visit Vincent's law firm, where all of these resources and more are listed, and especially information on veterans benefits, and that's at vjrussolaw.com.
Well done, Victoria.
Thanks. I didn't even stutter.
That's right. Thanks to all our viewers for joining us. And remember, family truly does come first.